ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the issue. And today's topic is regarding the impacts of the haze on the ASEAN region, especially between Indonesia and Singapore point of view. My name is Vina, and I will be conducting as a host today. Today we have Anissa, Graceline, Gracia, and Salsa as our guests, and they will be presenting their paper in the title of Transboundary Haze in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and Singapore Policy Compared. Today's objectives are the introduction of the research, literature review, analysis, and last but not least, conclusion.
Okay, so I will start with the introduction. So from the timeline, we can set that the haze or the smoke pollution is the most important transboundary environmental issue. And in the year of 1997, the smoke came from the peat fires and forest fires, and it also caused an economic and human disaster. For 7 months, the haze has covered nearly 2 million square miles, which include countries such as Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, Australia, and Indonesia. In the year 2000, it spread to 500 fires range out of control. And in 2002, it became a moderated thick haze, and the situation is worsened from year 2006 to 2008. What actually happened? What happened is the fire have a serious impact for the countries in the Southeast Asia. And the second point is the countries in the area are making policies to help stop and prevent the fires to spread. And the last one, the fire comes from Kalimantan and Sumatra, which is in Indonesia. The ASEAN is in a stage of urgency to solve the issue. The key question that we use in this paper, the first one is, what would Indonesia and Singapore strategy to overcome the transboundary issue? Previous research that has been done towards this problem or this issue is a book written by Donald E. Weatherby, International Relation in Southeast Asia, and the second one is James Cotton with the title of The Haze over Southeast Asia Challenging the Asian Mode of Regional Engagement, and the last one is actually a journal article written by J.J. Zhang and Victor R. Savage with the title of Southeast Asia's Transboundary Haze Pollution: Unraveling the Inconvenient Truth.
For Donald Farrell's explanation, the author himself explains about the discussion that haze itself has become the single most important transboundary environmental in Southeast Asia. Haze pollution produced by forest and peatland fire is very common occurrence. Donald also explained that there are environmental issues happening in South Asia, how maritime zones and ecosystem can also affect that multilateral and bilateral relation of country in Southeast Asia. And finally, I will explain a journal article by James Cotton that entitled The Haze over Southeast Asia Challenging the Asian Mode of Regional Engagement. James Cotton itself said, firstly, Asia itself has taken several approaches to address this haze problem. And secondly, the evidence that has come to light as a result of the latest fire has shifted the blame from forest dwelling people primarily to large commercial operation. Instead of carefully lodging in the selected plot, large areas are opened quickly with only the best and largest trees cut down. Sometimes, large over areas are converted into timber or oil palm plantations. And the last one, James Carter himself said how the haze problem is a mistake that can make it difficult between Asian regions, especially NGO, to build exciting relation between countries.
Okay, so for the first is journal article by J.J. Zhang and Victor R. Savage in the title of Southeast Asia's Transboundary Haze Pollution Unraveling the Inconvenient Truth. It explained about, first, the initial explanation of the discussion of the problem was more specific than Donald and highlighting correlation within the rise phenomenon. Zhang and Savage provide an initial explanation through an elaboration of the relationship that is owned by ecology, environment, and politics, where this is done by Zhang and Savage to provide a fundamental explanation regarding how the transboundary haze phenomenon as an environmental and ecological phenomenon has a strong influence on bilateral or even multilateral politics. Second, the perspective in explaining the phenomenon raised is wider than Donald. Zhang and Savage describe their research problem in a national to ASEAN context. And the last one is the way researchers conclude research is more specific than Donald. Zhang and Savage conclude in a micro manner that this phenomenon will also be influenced by how the fundamental conditions of a country are, where the curse of air pollution is also influenced by the country itself, which then in a large context ASEAN also regulates it. For the next one is book by Donald E. Weatherby in the title of International Relation in Southeast Asia, The Struggle for Autonomy. It explained about, first, Donald did the opening of the issue more generally than Zhang and Savage, where Donald opened the emphasis on problems through elaboration on environmental issues that can cause problems in bilateral relations in the ASEAN region. But Donald ultimately narrowed down the emphasis on transboundary haze in Asia. Second, Donald in providing an initial explanation as a fundamental explanation, where Donald begins his explanation by explaining the existing environmental policies. Third, how researchers conclude research. Donald concludes his research result within the scope of ASEAN. For the next explanation, we'll explain by Grace.
Okay, thank you. First of all, as we already know that this disaster is come from Indonesia. the impact is really big, not only for Indonesia, but for another countries in Indonesia. That means Indonesia has a big responsibility to overcome this issue. Therefore, Indonesia has made several efforts to overcome this issue. The first one is by establishing a stronger policy about forestry practice. This must be done to prevent another forest fires caused by irresponsible people. However, it seems that Indonesia cannot solve this problem alone. That's why they need to cooperate with another party like NGO to fight these forest fires. They also need help from another Asian countries like Malaysia. It can be seen from how Malaysia was allowed to participate in haze mitigation in Riau province. So basically, even though these disasters come from Indonesia, they seem cannot handle this problem alone.
The analysis. The second key observation is what are Singapore's strategy in overcoming transboundary issue. So the evidence example for number one is establish a policy in the involvement of voluntary association to prevent the fire. And the second one is to pursue regional haze action plan for each nation regarding the fire. So why is the first point of the evidence actually important? If the voluntary association involved in the action, it would be fully focused on the main point and to prevent outside interests. The second reason why is it important for the second point is actually each country have to participate in this issue with their own nation way, which would be effective in an international level to actually overcome the issue.
Thank you to all the viewers who watched today's episode of The Issue. We hope you enjoy the video and get useful knowledge. That is all for us. Don't forget to stay tuned and keep updated on the recent issue in many more discussions in the future. Goodbye, everyone.